Welcome to A1R Psychic Radio here on Moonstruck TV with Amanda Hall Psychic all the way from the Gold Coast. So wherever you are in this fantastic planet of ours, I hope you had a very happy and peaceful Easter, that you enjoyed your time with your family and your friends. And for those of you that it's a very religious time, I hope you gained some sort of comfort and inspiration out of that time, spending time with your religious beliefs and sort of attending to services and things like that. It's a very unique time around the world for each and every one of us in a very different way. For the children, it's all about the Easter eggs, and why shouldn't it be? The innocence of children. We need to have some joy in our lives. But for us older people, it always holds a very different sort of meaning for many of us, and even people that aren't religious as such, that don't attend church on a weekly basis, quite often make their journey and their trek to churches and synagogues and places of worship over the Easter break because they find some sort of comfort in it, and also the fact that they feel it sets them up nicely for the rest of the year, where they have a little bit more positivity, a little bit more direction, and feeling a little bit more protected. So it's interesting that this week the Simply Tarot card of the week also brings in place of worship. It's the Three of Pentacles. Now, the Three of Pentacles has a couple of different meanings about this card. The first one is improvements underway. Well, I think wherever you are in the world today, I think you'd be very happy to think that improvements might be underway in your neck of the woods. There could still be some slight delays around it, but you have to be aware that we don't always have breakthroughs and changes that happen with the snap of our fingers or overnight. Even though we can see improvements are underway, sometimes they still take a little bit of time before we actually get them to where we need to be. It is the card of renowned glory. Now, I know when I was teaching a lot of tarot over the years that my students used to sort of stumble on what's renowned glory. Now, to me, renowned glory is the highest pinnacle, or the highest that you can achieve in whatever the subject or the situation may be. It's not necessarily meaning that you've become the leader of your nation that you live in, but it's the highest pinnacle that you can achieve for you yourself personally. And for some people, that might be something as simple as mastering an amazing recipe in the kitchen that's eluded you, that you've never quite got it right, and that's your crowning glory or your renowned glory. It could be a passing of an exam, getting married. There's many, many different things that renowned glory can mean. And the final interpretation of this card is a place of worship. And as I spoke about earlier, many of us have been to religious services over the Easter break. So it's interesting that we're still continuing on with that very peaceful sort of energy, that energy of hope. And hopefully that hope and that peace, and you kept the residents of Ukraine in your prayers, because they certainly do need it. The disgusting atrocities that are happening over there at the moment, it just makes me very sick in the heart to think that some human beings can do that to other human beings. There is absolutely no need for it. We all have plenty of things to go around in our world that we don't need to invade other countries and try and take over their lives just because we want to be a bully. So let's move on to the astrology section of the week. We're in the final days of the sun being in Aries. And when I talk about the sun being in an area, that's what we know as our astrological sign, is that, we all know our sun sign, the time of the year that we were born. We know what our zodiac sign is. So for the Aries people, your time of being in the spotlight is coming to an end, only has another day or two to go, and then we move into the sign of Taurus. So as Aries starts to wrap up, some of you may feel this real sudden burst of energy that, like, you're running out of time, you've got to get everything done yesterday and you won't sit still until you've done it. It's okay. That can be the last, little burst of sun in Aries, sort of making you get motivated and get up off the couch and make things happen. For other people, it might be, oh, gee, I feel exhausted. I've, done a lot in this last month. I just need to take a little bit of a breather. So whichever way it affects you, and even if it's neutral for you, just go with it. Because as the sun moves into Taurus, we will sort of feel the sudden jolt of the shift of energy. So at the moment, we have quite a bit of focus on planetary situations sitting in Pisces. Now, Pisces is the final sign of the zodiac, known as the 12th sign, or the dustbin, where people sort of say, oh, well, that's where everything goes into the trash can and gets thrown out. I don't agree with that. I see Pisces in a totally different way. I see the Piscean energy has been collectively taking the best bits out of the previous 11 signs and amalgamating it into its own, and sort of saying to people, you know, we have a time here where we can be a little bit creative. We can take a breath or two. We can sort of actually sort of make, spirits are tickling my face with my hair. We can make decisions now based on our intuition, on our gut feeling, what feels right for us, what we've been sort of, it might have been swimming around in our heads for a little while. Now we're going to make it reality. So anything to do with any time there's planetary configuration sitting in Pisces, it means that we, you know, we can stop, we can take a breath, we can sort of look at a number of different possible outcomes before we actually make a final decision. So we have a little bit of luxury of time here, which is lovely. And it's nice to see such emphasis at the moment with the planetary configurations that are sitting in Pisces, because it reminds us that we have that little bit of luxury of time, that we can take a breath, that we can sort of, you know, daydream a little bit and fantasize about how we'd like the world to be or how we'd like our world to be. And then we come back to reality and try and implement some changes or take the steps towards making our lives the way that we want it to be. So the first planet sitting in Pisces at the moment is Venus. Venus has just entered Pisces. So Venus is the planet of love and affection. This is the things that we love to do. This is not necessarily looking for new love. So it's not necessarily every single Piscean on the planet is going to all of a sudden have a new love affair or a new love interest. It just means anything that we love to do is going to be top of the agenda. Now, this will be more so for Pisces than the other 11 signs, but it doesn't mean the other 11 signs have to actually miss out on this. It just means that we can all appreciate the finer things in life, the things that put a smile on our face. So if you're into sort of music or creativity and things like that, it's a good time to really try and honor that. Spend a little bit more time doing the things that bring a smile to your face. If that means spending time with loved ones, that's perfect too. And for some people, it might just be as simple as really searching for the remote control to the telly and wanting to binge watch a favourite show or two or three or four or some movies. And for other people, it can be just relaxing with music going in the background during their busy day. There's many different ways that Venus can be affected here in Pisces, but also it can give us some insight into where our lives should be heading in the next 12 months or so, that we might just get a little glimpse of our own universe, of our own future. So look out for that as well. So we also have Jupiter conjunct or holding hands Neptune in Pisces. Now, Jupiter is the planet of opportunity, expansion, luck, change, and it used to co-rule Pisces in the early days before Neptune was assigned to Pisces as the ruler. So Jupiter feels really, really comfortable here and very excited to be holding hands with fellow planet Neptune, where they're both sitting in Pisces, where they really both feel very, very comfortable. So definitely for most Pisceans around the globe, this is a time of expansion, opportunity, of people seeing you in a different light. If you're somebody that's in the public eye or an entertainer or a performer, and you've been looking for that lucky break and you seem to feel as if you've always been ignored, or, you know, they've picked you as the second choice, not the first choice, now could very well be the time where people are starting to say, hey, hang on a minute, what about that person that did such and such? Do you remember what their name was? They'd be perfect for this situation or this role or this concert. So don't be surprised if opportunities can come out of nowhere, opportunities that you thought were completely gone, that would never ever resurface or cross your path again. That doesn't mean sit on your hands and don't get out there and sell yourself and try and promote yourself and, you know, gain what you want in your life. But what I'm saying is that people are going to be taking more notice of you. So make sure you put your best foot forward. Always put a smile on your face. Just be yourself. Nobody's asking you to be something that you're not. And I think that's really important. That's a very important message for each and every one of us. We don't have to try and pretend to be somebody that we're not, what we think other people want us to be. If they don't like us for who we are, that's their issue. That's their problem. We are here to be ourselves. We don't need to be or aspire to be someone that we're not. That's really important. So it's a very positive time, very great time for the arts, for creativity, for people making music clips and film clips and movies and things like that. creative juices are flowing. If this flows across to politics, which it does here in Australia because we're in election season now, they're frantically all out there peddling their wares. It's a time then, if the politician is a Pisces, that they will get a lot more limelight than maybe they would have before. And maybe all of a sudden, even though they might have been around a long time, people are sort of saying, oh, I didn't know that about that person. Oh, I didn't think they believed in this or that or the other. So it can work to their advantage. But for us mere mortals, it's just a time of really honouring our creative juices and the creativity in our lives and trying to bring more peaceful and harmonious surroundings to each and every one of us and the people that are in our lives. I think that's the main thing. And for some people, there may be some creative breakthroughs where you get that aha moment or the light bulb moment where you've been searching for an answer and all of a sudden there it is, and that's great. So, you know, things can be very positive in our lives. So we just need to be aware of what is actually sort of happening in our lives and not be in too much of a hurry to jump over things too quickly. So we also have Uranus, the planet of the unusual and the unexpected, is holding hands or conjunct Mercury in Taurus. Now, Uranus is the planet that it really does like to create things out of nothing or be like the bolt of lightning, strike out of nowhere when you're least expected. Now, it's not always of a positive nature. Sometimes it can work in the absolute reverse and can create, you know, unexpected, unforeseen events in our lives that we really didn't want to happen, that are life-changing and not necessarily in the way that we would have liked them to. We also have to look at that when it is holding hands or conjunct Mercury, the planet of communication, we have to be very careful that we don't open our mouth and things just blurt out, things that we might have been thinking about that we hadn't formulated, weren't ready to have a conversation about, but all of a sudden there they are out for the world to hear. They're on the table, we've blurted them out and we've just upset half a dozen people in the process, and we really now have to go into very, very quick damage control. So if you are a Taurus, please heed my warning, be very, very careful about just letting your mouth ramble or be a motor mouth and not think about what you're saying, because sometimes the things that you're thinking of at the moment can just come out your mouth without even realising you've said them, and you could cause some arguments to happen or people's feelings to be hurt that you had no intentions of hurting. It can be a very positive time. It can be a time if you're trying to do a sales pitch or trying to get a promotion in a job, if you go in and present yourself in a positive light and that you have something constructive to take to the table and you keep your message like dynamite, it's short, sharp and furious, and it's to the point that you'll get your message across and people will sit up and take notice of you. But I must warn you, it can go either way. It can be positive or it can be negative. So be very careful at how you choose your words. It's a time that you don't want to get into disagreements or arguments with people if you can help it, because you may come off second best because people are only hearing your dictatorial, bossy sort of tone and not really listening to the words that are being said. So be very careful at the way you present yourself at the moment, because you are coming across as being that sort of bull in the china shop sort of person, not necessarily taking into any consideration other people around you. So you need to be very careful of that. It's not the time, you know, to go out there and badmouth somebody if you're trying to win a popularity contest. You need to be working in the exact opposite. We have Mars, the planet of action, the planet of war, the planet that drives us and gets us out of bed of a morning, has just also moved into Pisces too. So I'm going to say, on a very positive note, I hope that this is the start of the resolution of the war in Ukraine, that maybe, just maybe, we're going to have somebody that's going to see some common sense and start to back down on this and stop doing what they're doing. The atrocities of war are absolutely disgraceful. There is no guarantee, of course, even with Mars moving into a water sign, that, you know, that things might sort of calm down. We might be able to dampen them down. We can always live in hope. It can also mean that we need to be very aware of other people or other nations trying to make power plays, particularly connected with water. Are they trying to gain ground in, you know, waterways or seaways that, you know, are shipping lanes and things like that that could disrupt the movement of cargo and imports, exports around the world. So just keep an eye on that as well, because Mars in Pisces can take on many different angles. Yes, it can be a positive, and we could be hoping and praying for a resolution in Ukraine, but at the same time, we could see something else flaring up in a very subtle, subliminal sort of way that people are sort of jumping over the issue or not giving it enough airtime or not taking it seriously enough because our focus is in another part of the world. So we need to be very aware of nations or people trying to gain control over something which isn't their territory, which isn't theirs, and it could very well be connected with water or shipping lanes because it's ruled by Pisces. So we still have Saturn in Aquarius. So Saturn is the father figure planet. He's telling us that we need to be sort of looking at things in maybe a little bit of a different way. We need to bring about some resolutions in our lives. We need to approach things through a different set of eyes, that the lessons of the past aren't necessarily going to be the answers for the now and the future. We need to come up with some light bulb moments. Finally, we've still got Pisces. We've still got Pluto in Capricorn. He's been there since 2008. I talk about it every week. Pluto's role is to break down the barriers, to regenerate things, to sort of bring things out of the darkness into the light. It's about rejuvenation. It's about reinvention. It's about really looking at the things that we're doing. And I believe Pluto's role in Capricorn, because Capricorn rules things like big business and governments and official things and anything connected to the environment. I believe Pluto is asking us as a globe to really start addressing this global warming issue and taking it seriously, and stop being so greedy and stop putting money and profits above the betterment of the world. And that includes anything to do with viruses and illnesses and everything like that. We've got to stop putting money first. We've got to start putting people in the environment first. So we're going to talk with our first client in Allison. It's Allison in Aurora in Colorado. Are you there, Allison?
Yes, I am. Thanks, Amanda.
Do you have a question I can answer for you, Allison?
Yes, I would like to know just the future of our business. We own a tire business, and you know how that looks.
Okay. It's really interesting because as you were talking to me about that, Alison, about the business, they were showing me the symbol for endings, change and transformation. So is there something that you're bringing in that's new, or have you made some very definite sort of changes to the business in the last 6 to 12 months?
Let me see. Well, we actually want to get out of the business that we have. We need to to clear up like some like taxes and stuff like that that we need to straighten up and do something more more people oriented, more something that's just gonna leave the world a better place.
Oh, look, I can totally understand that. But was the decision to put, to move away from this business, did this come about in the last 6 to 12 months? That's when the discussions really sort of hit their straps, and, you and your husband sort of made this choice. That's good, because the first symbol they showed me was the symbol of endings, change or transformation. So I wasn't sure whether that meant that you were looking to sell the business and move on and go into a different direction, but they did also show me that 6 to 12 months. So to me, you're right on target. I know we're in April now. I'm not necessarily seeing that we can wrap this up in the next couple of weeks. They're showing me the month of July. Now, I'm not sure that's when we can actually walk away from it, or when that's when things are really gathering momentum, that we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. We're starting to get excited, and we see, we've got an end date. It mightn't be actually in the month of July, but we've got an end date that we can work towards. So, you've only got another couple of months of tidying up the loose ends, which I know you're both working on very fast, so that you can get everything ready. So you're putting the business up for sale?
Yeah, we probably will, yeah.
Yeah, because I can actually see a sale coming in. And as I said, I want to come back to the month of July. I just keep seeing that sort of important documents and things are being signed then. I'm going to say to you, the business is going to go to I'm going to call it like two brothers. Now, whether they're brothers, whether they're brother-in-laws, or whether they're just good friends that behave like brothers, but it's a two-man operation that I can see buying it. And I feel that they'll be passionate about it. And it's interesting because to them it's come up at the right time. It's the right size, and they can see ways of improving it and changing it to make it their own, which is good. But they also see the value in the hard work you and your husband have put in over the years, and what they want to do is add on to that. They don't want to take away from that. They just want to add their own flair to it as well, and make it a little bit of a more diverse sort of business, and that's good. So you'll get a good price for it. I'm going to say to you, though, can I suggest that the two of you need a little bit of breather after the business is sold? Like, you need a month or two off to just really relax and sort of, unwind. It's been a really difficult 5 years, and it's sort of like you really need to take some time for yourselves, just have a break, even if it is just sort of staying at home and relaxing, reading the paper, for a little bit of time, and then start to work out what your next step is, because I don't know that that's set in stone yet. I know you've got some ideas, but I want to sort of say to you, let's just let things just flow, because more ideas are going to come yet. Let's just sort of take it in steps and stairs. Let's focus on getting, the loose ends tidied up around the business, and then getting the business sold, and then moving on. So I hope that's been of help, Alison.
Yes.
Okay, that's where we're going to leave Alison now. We're going to talk with Tammy in Muncie in
Hello.
Indiana. Hi, Tammy. I'm sorry if I pronounced your location wrong. How can I help you, sweetie?
Yes, hi. I'm just dealing with a situation right now. I really don't know what to do.
Okay. So you want some guidance on what to do about this situation, sweetie?
Okay.
Okay. The first thing that they're showing me is that I do think that you haven't overreacted to the situation. I want to be very clear on that, because there's been times in the last few days or the last couple of weeks where you've really questioned, am I blowing this out of all proportion? The answer is no, you are not. If anything, I think you're lowering what's going on. You're trying to keep a very clear head about all this and trying to look for solutions and ways to rectify the situation. I can say to you that there will be a massive change in the next 7 to 10 days. They're not showing me what the situation is, and I don't expect you to tell the world what your whole situation is. I'll just tune in as best I can and give you what they're giving me. They're also showing me that there is no way to fix this. No matter what you've thought of, what you've tried to do, the answer is there is no answer. There is no way of fixing this situation that we can just move on with it. So I think that's been the hardest thing for you to accept and understand, that no matter how much effort, how much energy you put into it, it's not gaining the result that you had hoped for. And it's not because you haven't tried hard enough. It's just not meant to be. So I hope that's helping you sort of understand and clarify a little bit more about what's been going on, that it is not your fault, that, this is one of these situations in life that we couldn't avoid. It was meant to be. It was part of your journey being here on earth. But now we need to sort of close that door, and we need to move forward again. Does that make sense to you? Does that resonate with what you're going through?
Yeah, it does. It just feels like, I'll just be, I don't know what it is. It's like he just keeps coming back and just keeps coming back, and things, they'll get better, and then it's like he'll self-sabotage what we could have, and things like that, like our happiness or whatever.
Yes.
And it just doesn't make sense to me.
No, it probably doesn't make sense to you, sweetheart, but sometimes relationships that we have in our lives are part of our karma, are part of the lessons we came here to learn. And whether you believe in reincarnation or not, I do. And I've worked a lot with karma over the years, and sometimes relationships that we have like this, where they're really, really wonderful, but at the same time they're really bad. And it's like, we can't seem to break that cycle. And we think, but common sense tells me I should. If it was a friend, if it was a family member, I'd say, don't be so silly. Why haven't you moved on? Why haven't you done this? And we don't seem to be able to take our own words of advice. And the best way I can describe it to you is it's like a debt that we've got to repay. And until the final payment's been made, the debt isn't complete. Well, it's the same with the karma. with the relationship. You know, he comes back, he promises you the world, he tells you all the right things, he starts to do all the right things, and then all of a sudden 3 of the 4 wheels fall off the car again, and you think, but why? What's caused this? What have I done? Have I done something wrong? Is there something that I could do to prevent this? The answer is no. That, you know, the biggest thing is that you understand now it's not your fault, that you've tried everything humanly possible and you can't do anything else. You just have to accept that this is not going to be the happily ever after that you hoped for, that you could see the potential for, because it's not meant to be, because he's got issues that he's unable or can't work on or can't seem to find solutions or get help for. And it's like a love-hate relationship between the two of you. And it's really, really hard, because usually these relationships are very, very intense. And, you know, they can be everything we want them to be, and then they can be the exact opposite of everything that we want them to be. So I know that, you know, you are making the right decisions, and you've already, I think, drawn a line under this in your own mind, saying this has got to stop, haven't you? That it's time for, I've got to have a new I've got to have a new book. I've got to have a new life. So, darling, don't be too hard on yourself. There's nothing you've done wrong. Just take hour by hour and know that, you know, it will come to an end and you will be able to move on. And before the end of this year, I am actually seeing beautiful new love coming into your life that is healthy, that's nice, that's right. So just hang on to that, Tammy. I know that the end is very close to this trauma that you've been going through. So that's where we're going to leave Tammy now. We've come to the end of the show again. So I hope for everybody that, you know, you've had a really enjoyable time, as I said, over the Easter break. Don't forget our dear, you know, brothers and sisters in Ukraine, and if you can help with some sort of financial support, there's lots of organisations that are taking donations to try and feed the poor people there that have absolutely nothing in their lives. And it's, you know, it's just sort of such a sad time when we find that the world's in such disarray again, and it shouldn't be. You know, we should be all prospering and trying to come out of the tail end of a pandemic and looking towards the future with such positivity and accepting the lessons that we've learned in this last couple of years of being, you know, shut down, locked down, and not able to travel and communicate and live our lives the way that we should. But unfortunately, you know, some other people like to see things in a different sort of light. So until next week, I hope you have an absolutely amazing week. And I want to leave you with a song that was made very, very famous by the Beatles. And I know that, you know, it's a song that a lot of people know, but I want you to dig around and go to your place of choice where you get your music from and look for the song Help, sung by John Farnham in Australia. And the Beatles actually heard John sing this for the Queen in England many, many years ago. And Paul McCartney said that's the way the song was meant to be sung. So I'll leave you with that song, Help by John Farnham. Until next week, bye for now.